Okay, so it's been a few weeks since we last looked at a sentence construction, but the last sentence construction, which I'm going to take a moment to review that we practiced, which our first one was this right here on your right, compound sentence with coordinating conjunctions. And I want to review that really quickly. Remember, a compound sentence with a coordinating conjunction has an independent clause. Remember, an independent clause can stand by itself as a sentence if you want it to, linked to another independent clause. They both have to be independent clauses in order to be a compound sentence. You can't just run those together, though, side by side. It's like a marriage. You need a little bit of buffer room, some relationship rules, if you will. So you use a coordinating conjunction, and you'll remember we have fanboys are our coordinating conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, which I will include the image of those on the assignment, on the assignments. And because these are both independent clauses being linked with a coordinating conjunction, a fanboy, you must have a comma. You cannot link two independent clauses with just a comma or just a fanboys. There's not enough rules to the relationship between those two independent individual clauses. And they're not going to get together. They're not going to agree with each other or get along together well. Every day was a happy day, comma, and every night was peaceful. Every night was peaceful could be a sentence by itself. So could every day was a happy day. That's why you have to have a comma and a coordinating conjunction. You can't cut either one of those things out. Now, that was the first one we practiced, and that was, seems almost a lifetime ago with our evacuations, our hurricane evacuations, and everything else. But now we're moving on to the second use of using coordinating conjunctions to link clauses. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure you understand is that I am really teaching you comma rules and when to use them before a coordinating conjunction. And so, move this back just a little bit here now. And so, what we have here is we have a complex sentence. Compound sentence linked two independent clauses. A complex sentence links an independent clause and a dependent clause. There are a number of ways to make complex sentences. There are a number of different types of complex sentences. We're just looking at one structure that I want you practicing in your writing and being aware of. And really, it's about when do I use a comma. So, the complex sentence structure that we're looking at today is when you have an independent clause followed by a dependent clause. You still have to have a buffer there, a relationship setter there. What is the relationship between the independent clause and the dependent clause? But there is no comma. And there is no comma because this dependent clause cannot survive by itself. It is not independent. It is the child. It is the toddler. It needs that closer relationship to that adult clause to take care of it. So, let's look at this model here. She came to know what heavy housework meant and the odious cares of the kitchen. This is a quote from the Emancipants, The Necklace, short story The Necklace, about a woman who loses what she thinks is a very expensive necklace of her friends, and her husband go into debt for many years to secretly replace the necklace so her friend never knows that it was lost. And she was a upper middle class woman, not having to work, but because of her carelessness and her wanting to put on a good image, she has to get to know what it is to be poor and to work really hard. Now, looking back at the sentence structure here, the first clause we have is independent. It could stand as a sentence by itself. She came to know what heavy housework meant. That could be a sentence right there. It's a complete idea. It can stand by itself. There's a subject, there's a verb, and in addition we have objects as well. But if you look after the and, after the coordinating conjunction and, you'll see if you read this by itself, it's not a complete sentence. The odious cares of the kitchen. The odious cares of the kitchen. What about them? There's no verb. The subject, cares. We have an adjective deciding what kind of cares. And we have a prepositional phrase. There's no verb. So it can't stand by itself. It has to be connected to this independent clause here. And you do that with just the coordinating conjunction and absolutely no comma. No comma. We use a comma with compound sentences and coordinating conjunctions because you're linking two independent clauses. We do not use a comma with those same coordinated conjunctions, fanboys. We do not use a comma because this is a dependent clause. So we're going to be practicing this structure in the next 5 or 6 warm-ups after today and see how you do on composing your sentences. Remember, you'll be using an image. I'll give you an image, and you're going to compose a sentence inspired by that image in this format. And I want you to remember, you can actually riff off of this and mimic this sentence. I want you to mimic the sentence. You can even borrow it and just change a few words if you're really, really struggling. And then as you practice getting a little more independent on composing your sentences. So, if you have any questions, you can email me, you can ask me at any time you can catch me. I'm happy to answer questions at any time.